Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for staying until now. I know everybody is tired, but the good news is that I'm the last. So after me, you're allowed to go. What's the topic I selected to talk about today? It's something that I think since morning you have been hearing a lot. Everybody who presented something has concluded by saying you have to measure, isn't it? You have to collect the data and you have to see what you're doing. So probably, and what I have aimed to do here for you is to give you a way in terms of thinking in terms of how you can create a very rational procedure in terms of what you have to measure and why you have to measure it. The reason that it is important to measure things in terms of your performance is because, as everybody says, you can never manage what you do not measure. So even in terms of cybercrime, if we don't know how much is it or from where it is coming, we cannot manage it. It is important to know things. I will start from something very, very, very simple. And the reason that hoteliers or restaurants, they have to measure their performance is because you have one major target. You want to maximize revenue. And there is a very basic formula that everybody knows, that if you want to maximize revenue, you have to have a very good yield, meaning your realized revenues, they are as close as possible to the maximum revenues you can get. And then if you want to see how this formula derives, you simply do a very simple calculation. You multiply number of room nights you have sold, if you're talking about an hotelier, with the average price you have sold, and you divide it with your capacity and the rack rate. Now, this ratio, usually it's broken down to what we know as average daily rate and occupancy. But the problem is, and the question you have is, how do you manage both of them in a very good balance? Because you know that when you increase your ADR, then your occupancy goes down, and when you want to sell more room nights, you have to drop your price. And the question becomes even much more complicated, because what you really need to know is how do you play with price and occupancy every single day? To do that, hopefully, you do collect data about your historical occupancies and average daily rates on a daily basis. So based on history, you should know what you should be expecting, isn't it? What you should be getting in terms of room nights and how probably is the average price that you're selling per day, so you know how much prices to quote to people. But the question then gets much more complicated. It's not only one channel that you use. Most of the times you have many different alternative channels and many different intermediaries. So the question is, what price you quote per channel, isn't it? How many room nights you contract per channel, whether you do reallocations and how often you do them, and to which customer at what price do you sell the hotel room that you have. So this dilemma that you have to face is what many people call what is your multiple distribution channel management strategy, whereby you have to determine room nights and prices per channel every day. And you have to change that and you have to review it on a very continuous basis. Now, to do this, as you can imagine, you should not only rely on aggregated data, total data about occupancies and ADR per day, you should have disaggregated data per channel. You should know what Expedia produces every day in terms of occupancy, how much you have sold on Expedia, not only every day, but what was the price that you have achieved on Expedia, every Monday, every Tuesday, the Monday the month before, the Monday 2 months before, isn't it? And it gets much more complicated, because it's not only what you have done on Expedia or Booking or whatever channel you use, it's much better if you know what your competitors have done or they are currently doing on every channel as well. So as you see, the more we're progressing, the more data you have to collect and the more headaches probably you have to address. Now, even if you do have this data, the situation becomes even more complex, because if we're talking about different distribution channels, what we know about them is that most of them, they have totally different business models. There are business channels that they will sign merchant contracts with you, meaning that you pre-sale them in a pre-contracted price, and this is stable for you, and it's a fixed cost for you. You have channels whereby you pay them a commission and you don't pay any fixed cost. There are channels that they work with the opaque model. I was just before discussing with some guys here in Greece that they want to develop an opaque model in Greece that they will call it precious, and whereby hoteliers in Greece, they will receive requests from people and they will have to bid and give the lowest price to them. You have channels, they work on an auction model and you have to bid again on a very low prices to do sales. We have the very successful model even in Greece, whereby you heavily discount to sell coupons to probably drive sales during a slow period. And this is again a totally different expense model for you. You have to pay for search engine optimization and search engine marketing. You do a lot of online advertising on Google, on Facebook nowadays. And you also know that you also have to work with meta search engine, because these are also some other channels that they're becoming very, very important to you. So you have many channels with totally different business models. And the different business model that they have, it means to you that you have to pay totally different distribution costs. And some of these costs are fixed, and some of them, they're quite variable, depending on how many reservations you get from them. So the question is, do you know what is your total cost per channel? Do you collect this data? Any response? Yes, I would have been amazed. So, look at this data. These are data that they're 2 years old from the AHLA research and information that they have provided on their website. They did the survey with their members, the hotels in US that they're based. What it really amazed me is that the cost per channel, the total cost per channel for GDSs is $20 per reservation. We have always blaming the GDSs to be the most expensive ones. That's not true. So you need to know the cost per distribution channel. Otherwise, you don't know how many room nights and what prices you're going to quote them. Now, usually when you select distribution channels, you should not only select them based on costs. You should basically do what I call a cost-benefit analysis. What does it cost you and how many revenues they bring you? If a channel, for example, brings you very good room nights with a very high ADR, the cost should not be a reason to object it. So what you need to calculate is, apart from the cost per distribution channel that you have, is that you have to calculate the total revenue that you get per channel, and you have to divide it, of course, with the number of transactions or bookings they bring you, so you know what is the ADR produced per channel. And you should know this not only in terms of aggregate, but as you can imagine, you should know it per day as well. Is it better, for example, to promote on Expedia on Friday night or during a specific month of a year? Or is it better for another channel? So your data should be really much refined one. Yeah? Very, very detailed one. Now, as soon as you know the cost and the revenues per channel, you can even produce another metric, which is very, very popular, and it's the metric that we call return on investment. So, if you invest on a channel, $1, how much this can bring you back? Look at the data that, again, the hotels from the US shows us. The most profitable channel, at least for the moment, seems to be Facebook. You invest $1 and you get $12.5 back in return in terms of reservations. Now, why do you think that's the case? Who do you think will go to a Facebook page to book with Marriott or Hilton instead of doing the cross comparison in different websites? Well, most probably the most loyal customer. And that's the one who is going to pay the very high price. I think that's probably the most obvious question, so, the most obvious answer. So what this figure tells you as well, it is that different channels, they probably and they definitely target totally different market segments. And you can easily see that based on the return on investment that you get out of them. Yes, that's a table that probably and hopefully your revenue management manager within hotel should be producing and should be able to have. It's a very simplistic, don't be scared. You have different distribution channels here, and per distribution channel, per month, you know the occupancy that you get, the ADRs, and you can calculate them per month, and you can do the cross comparison per channel, and you should also have the data, the total data per channel to compare them. Big headache, yes, but you should have them. Otherwise, you cannot solve the question, how many room nights and at what price and why? Or when you should close down a channel and when you should open up another one. Now, some hotels, they're becoming even more sophisticated. They do not base their decision only based on occupancies and ADRs. Some of them, they collect data, something like, what is the average length of stay? You would prefer to sell to channels that they bring you room nights that they stay longer. Because the longer the customer stays, probably the longer cross-sales you can do in terms of restaurants and spas, isn't it? And the less operating expenses you have, or variable cost per channel. So yes, if you want to compare channels, the more data you collect about them, the better it is. The question is, who is going to give it to you and who is going to analyze it for you? Now, what else is also important to know about distribution channels and how you evaluate and you select them? Apart from the fact that distribution channels, they have different business models, meaning costs and revenues for you, hoteliers or restaurants or suppliers in general, they use distribution channels for many different purposes. And achieving sales, it's not the only one. You might be using channels because you just simply want to create awareness or to build your brand image. You might be using them because you want to drive traffic to your website, or you want to drive traffic to your Facebook page fan. You might be using it because you want to do online bookings, as I said before. You might use them because you want to persuade people to buy more or to upgrade their purchase with you. Or you might be doing it because you want simply to penetrate more to your existing customer database and persuade them to come more frequent to your restaurant or to your hotelier, or fly more frequently with you. And sometimes you might invest money on distribution channels simply because you want to diffuse positive word of mouth. Think about social media, isn't it? You don't expect so much to get revenues directly from them, but the indirect benefit of word of mouth is, of course, to get the revenues anyway. Now, it's not only that you will use different distribution channels for different reasons, but I think it is very, very important to understand that whatever channel you use, you should be investing money on it because you would like the customer to mature with you. So, what you want to achieve in every channel is, first of all, to persuade the customer to see your campaign on Facebook or on your website. So you want to attract him. You want to make sure that he's converted to a client. And of course, you want to make sure that as soon as he buys one time, he will spread positive word of mouth or he will come back to you. And you have to achieve this in every channel, and you have to assess how well you're doing it. So let's see this in practice in terms of how you can achieve it or how you can measure it in terms of whether you are achieving it. I'll give an example in terms of online coupons, and I guess everybody's familiar with the channels now, online coupons. We have many copycats in Greece, isn't it? Prosphores.com, of course the Groupon.com, isn't it? Cheapdeals.com and so on. Now, the reason that it might drive you to use coupons, again, there are many. And they might not only be sales. Some people, they might do it because it is a free, in inverted commas, marketing campaign to create awareness. You don't pay fixed costs. You only pay a cost when somebody buys the coupon in a reduced price. So if nobody buys the coupon, you have created awareness with zero budget. And probably that's a reason why you should be doing it, isn't it? Another reason why you want to do it is because you want to achieve local advertising. Usually the people that they use coupons, isn't it, they subscribe for specific locations. So for example, if I know that I'm going to Paris for Christmas, I will subscribe to Groupon.fr, isn't it? And I will subscribe for Paris so I can receive now the coupons for Paris so I know where I can go for gala dinner, isn't it, in Paris. So many people, they will use it to do a very good local targeting, isn't it? Advertising for the residents in this location or for the ones that they are going there. You might want to use it because you want to fill in empty capacity in slow periods, and it's better to get €5 rather than nothing. Or you might be willing to use it because you're a new establishment or you have a new menu or you have upgraded your hotel and you want to persuade people to come to you with a low cost so they don't lose too much if they don't like your restaurant or if they don't prefer to go back to the destination. So the reasons that you might be doing coupons, they can be varied. And it's not only sales, that's what I'm trying to say. So you really need to measure your performance for every single goal that you might have set. And probably you might be willing to measure how well the coupon that you have designed has managed to mature the customer, meaning not only to come, but also to become a frequent repeater, isn't it, purchaser for you, and of course to buy much more products from you. Now, that's good. There are many benefits if you want to use the coupons, but there are many problems that they might arise. So for example, you might be displacing your repeat or loyal customers. You might have a restaurant, you might have sold too many coupons, and then all your tables are occupied with the couponists. The loyal customers come and they have no place to sit. So how do you know how many coupons you should be allowed to sell per day or per week, or if you need to have blackout days? You have to measure it. You might be doing what I call market cannibalization. So instead of going to a restaurant that you already know and you like it and you feel comfortable with it and paying the normal price, if you are this kind of customer, you go online, you buy the coupon and you pay the half price. Now the restaurant has lost because they haven't attracted new customers, they have just cannibalized their market. Have you ever measured that to see if this happens and how you can avoid it? There are some customers that, yes, you want to persuade them to come once to your hotel or to your restaurant and then hopefully they will come back, but then you have just the thought that no, they don't come. Yes, have you measured it? Have you seen who they are and what you have actually promoted to them? How can you address the problem if you don't have the data? Many people, they also claim very good, bad quality service standards when they come to companies. And this is mainly because many companies, they want what I say, heads in beds. They try to have, let's say, a very reduced price for a meal or for a room, and they hope they can get the money back when the customer is there. Now, this creates a lot of stress to waiters that they try to persuade you to buy more. It creates stress to receptionists that they try to upgrade you or to sell you more. People hate this. They feel that they are cheated or they're not treated nice. So they will definitely not come back if these perceptions, they persist. Brand erosion. How often can you offer coupons without people realizing that you're doing very bad, so you have to discount so much, or that they can relate you with a very, very low price or with a very low quality? Cash flow. Most of the times you do coupons because you want to build traffic in the long term. But can you survive in the short term by selling at a very low price? So for how long can you do it? These are all questions that you have to answer. And you cannot answer them, as I said before, unless if you know the performance per coupon and per campaign that you do. And you have to measure the performance per target that you set. So for example, did you do this because you wanted to acquire customers? Okay. Did you collect data? How many people saw your coupon? How many of those that they saw it? At which day they bought it? And from those that they bought it, how many of them they came to your company? Because actually nowadays Groupon declares that about 20 to 30% of the coupons, they are never redeemed. And all the money they go with Groupon. So you never know in terms of how successful you are and why people, they have never come to you. You also have to measure how well your coupon, for example, did in terms of persuading people to buy more from you. From those that they came, how many they bought something more? And if they bought more, how much more they bought? And those that they bought more, who they are, profile. When did they come? Yeah? You have to measure exactly the same in terms of conversion. The ones that they came with a coupon, did they come back later on as normal customers? And if they came, how many times? And how much they paid for you? And what's their profile again? Yeah? And for which coupon? When did you sell this coupon? Customer efficacy. you do the coupons because, as I said before, you want to create word of mouth, diffusion, increase your reputation and awareness. So, do you measure that? Do you know how many people that they have seen your coupon, they have shared it in many different social media? How many of these people they have commented on that, positively or negatively? Yeah. Depending on what you wanted to achieve, you should be measuring different metrics, and of course you should be evaluating your campaign in a different way. The same applies for your website. The reason that you will use your website, it's not only to make sales, isn't it? You want to use your website to mature the customer, isn't it? You want to the customer to become aware of your brand and create your brand image. You want the customer to use your website to search different products, isn't it, and hopefully buy. But you want the customer to come back and hopefully spread positive word of mouth about your website as well. So in terms of what you need to measure, you have to measure everything again. You have to measure the impressions in terms of who sees it, how many of those that they see your website or which web page they buy, their profile, isn't it, and if they buy, who they are, what is their worth of value, and what is their long-term customer lifetime value, because they're the loyal customers. So, in terms of website again, metrics and analytics, you see that there are quite a lot. For every stage, before the customer buys, you have to have the appropriate data in terms of the pedestrian data. I said how many they view it, when they're viewing it, from which websites they come from, which search engines, which keywords they have used, isn't it? If you want to assess how well your website is doing in terms of purchases, again, you have to measure different things. Which are the customers that they're buying, which are the web pages that have the best conversion rates, which are the IP addresses or the search engines that they bring you the best customers in terms of average spending that they have on the website. And you have to, again, measure different metrics in terms of how well any specific web page of the website, again, does in terms of keeping the customer loyal or persuading him to come back. So, many data, aren't they? If you do have a company specializing on web analytics, most probably they will give you access to a software whereby you can see the different data graphically as well, and you can see how they develop in terms of time or even of a specific day, in terms of the time of the day. In terms, as I said before, from where traffic comes from, what are the acquisition sources, search engines, or the keywords that they exist. You will need data about from which countries people come from, which domains, which is the click stream path that people follow until they reach the web page that they will make the purchase. So you will know which web pages are the most productive or which ones you have probably to revise and change their creative and content. You need data about navigations, how many web pages different people view, isn't it? Or probably they exit and they're not any more attractive to your website. Many, many analytics. And as you can imagine, you have to have the people looking at them and making sense out of them to take decisions. Now, apart from how well you're doing in terms of your marketing goals, what you also need to measure is how much money you spend to achieve all that. Yeah? So what you need to measure again is your total values, aggregate, total cost, total revenues, return on investment, number of visitors, and then you can calculate the same figures in terms of unique customers, isn't it? So total costs, I don't know, it cost you 1,000 euros, for example, to run a campaign. This campaign brought you 10 clients, so what was the acquisition cost per client? And you need to know this acquisition cost for your website, for your Facebook ad, for the Google ad, so later on you know where to invest the money, which day, and for what reason. Another reason why you should be probably having a website, as I said before, is because you want to drive traffic to other marketing campaigns. It might be a campaign that you're running on Facebook or a campaign that you're running on your Twitter account and profile. So if that was your aim, again, you have to collect the appropriate data. Data in terms of, does these campaigns brings you the clients that you wish to have from the email campaign, the e-marketing that you've done, from the search engine optimization, and so on. And again, as I said, it's not only the bookings that you should be assessing the channels. Now, what about the social media metrics? Because the social media, they have increased the number of data that you should be collecting, isn't it? But the rationale, I think it's the same. The rationale is the same in terms that the reason that you should be using the social media are quite varied again. You might be using it for the very basic reason. You want to create awareness and image, to the very basic and rational that you want to drive sales, or because you want to keep customers loyal to you. Now, whatever is your goal, for every goal, you have to have the appropriate metric to check whether this is achieved or not. What research and data show in terms of what are the critical variables in social media that they can affect your results? There are three major key variables that everybody knows. The first is the content, and we heard before how important the content is in terms of its quality, how timely, how multimedia it is, how attractive to the eye it is, isn't it? The quantity of the product that you produce. You should not create a Facebook profile, for example, and update it once per week. But you should know how often to update it, isn't it, and with what content. About the balance of the content, whether you distribute positive or negative or exciting or mystery content that it attracts the attention of people. And of course the timing. What day, what time of the day, isn't it? And of course before an event, a major event or not. The network structure. How big is this social media? Of course, Facebook and Twitter are quite huge, but depending on your business, I think you should be actually investigating what are the most specialized social media that you should be targeting. If you're an event organizer, for example, you should be on imeet.com, which is the Facebook of events organizers, isn't it? And it's the very specialized community where you should be targeting that. So it's not only the size. Yes, Facebook is the biggest. You have to look at what is your target audience, yeah? So you can also do some very good stuff on that. The people's links and ties. It doesn't matter how many people see only your content. It depends on how big is the network of every single person that sees your message on Facebook, for example, and clicks like. Because the bigger is the network of every of your fan, the bigger the impressions and the bigger the impact that you can have. And of course, another key variable is how connected is every social media with another network. And you might have seen that nowadays, all the different web pages, they have this share tool. Whatever you do in one social media, you try to invite and engage people to share it with many others. Retweet it or share it on YouTube, isn't it, and Facebook and so on. Another key variable that can influence your results in terms of metrics in social media, interaction. Basically, interaction refers to how do you persuade people to take interaction, to do an activity. Yeah? Why they should click like, why they should write a comment, why they should use the hashtag to promote your event or your company. I think the key answer here, and at least what data show, is that if you do apply gamification principles or if you do crowdsourcing, it can work. And to give you an example in terms of that. TripAdvisor heavily relies on content, isn't it? The more reviews there are on TripAdvisor, the more people they will go to the TripAdvisor to consult on it. So how do they try to persuade people to write reviews on TripAdvisor and to write good reviews? They do apply gamification because it offers you very good rewards to do that. And the rewards are what? People can evaluate you, give you badges, feel important and increase your ego, that you're a very specialist for a destination or you're a specialist for a particular type of an hotel. Many people nowadays, they log into Facebook with their Facebook account. This enables them, whatever they write on TripAdvisor, to appear on their Facebook. So yes, I want to upload a comment for Burj Al Arab because all my friends will see it and my self-esteem will increase, isn't it? And I want to write good content for Burj Al Arab, good content in terms that it's reliable, because if it's not reliable, then I will be ashamed. Everybody will be blaming me and everybody can see it. This is gamification. Many companies, they use crowdsourcing in another way. They create contests. They will give you awards, financial or bonuses, to persuade you to interact. Because they know that whenever you interact, with comments, with likes, whatever, you contribute to their impressions, the statistics of social media. So this is a very, very, I would say, key variable, again, to boost your performance in terms of social media interaction. Now, what else is very, very important? You really need to understand the mechanism that every single social media network works. So, for example, if we're talking about Facebook, how do you know how many people see, or what is the likelihood that some people will see a post that you put on your Facebook page? Well, Facebook has a very clear, in some way, procedure and mechanism. It says that the possibility that you might see a post by somebody, it depends on how close you are with the person that it's posting, how important is this posting, important in terms of the more likes it has, the more comments it has, the more likelihood it is that it will appear again and again, and the time decay. Time decay meaning that the very old posts, they will never appear, isn't it? And the very, very new ones, they will definitely appear in your timeline. And they call this statistic the edge rank. So whenever you post something on your Facebook profile and you want to increase the number of impressions that you have and probably the possibilities that people will interact with that, you have to play with these three key statistics. Either trying to increase affinity, meaning that you persuade people to click like on you and they become fans because the fans is what they have much closer affinity to you. Try to change the weight. So if people are not commenting, do comment yourself, isn't it? Or persuade others to do it. And try to change the time decay. Each time that you update this posting with an activity, time starts again from 0. So you influence the impressions again. So if you want to change the social media statistics, you need to know this mechanism and formulas and play with them. And of course, in social media, you also have to know what is the outcome that you have to achieve. And the outcome that you have to achieve is that you want people to get engaged. In different social media, people get engaged in different ways, but I think these are the most important ones, isn't it? You want them to click like, to become your fans because they increase the proximity to you. You want them to share and do the distribution for you. You want them to write comments, and you want them to post postings with any content they might have, video or photographs and so on. And here is a kind of an example again of a social media analytics formula or table that you should be having. Very detailed again. It's very, very important to have disaggregated data in terms of how many fans you have per month, how many of these people they talk about you, the impressions that you receive, the percentage of the impressions per month, what people do in terms of interactions, posting comments, like, shares, and you should know them per month. You need to compare them with the previous month, and you should know them when they take place, on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, isn't it? Whew, I'm tired. But this is how it should be done, isn't it? Otherwise, you just play by chance. Yeah? So, to summarize, because I think I bombarded you with too many metrics, I think that whatever marketing campaign you do or whatever distribution channel that you use, you need to gather 3 different types of metrics. The first type of metric that I call how well the channel can enable you to mature the customer, meaning to enable you not only to make your company aware to him and to reach him, but also to make him a loyal customer, and probably when he abandons and he goes away, you know why he left and what was the reason, so you know to change your message or your offer. You should know how well a channel enables you to find a very profitable customer and to know whether the customer is profitable or not. Again, you have to measure metrics about his behavior, how frequent he comes to your company, what was the last time he came, how much he paid, on average, whenever he came, isn't it? How long he stayed, his customer lifetime value. And the third type of metrics that you also have to collect for distribution channels is how much you have to pay to achieve the previous. So, what are their costs? What are their revenues, isn't it? As a total or as a per customer as well. Do you want to reduce your headache? Yes, I think everybody wants to reduce their headache. They want to probably automate things or to have spreadsheets and software to do that all for them. There are many companies that they will offer you one screen whereby you can get all the data per distribution channel and you can do the cross comparisons. Here are just a list of some of them. And basically, as I said before, they will give you a screen with a calendar view. So you have every day, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Monday, and you have here the different channels, Expedia, Travelocity, Booking. And for every channel, you have different type of rooms, and you define how many room types, at which price, at which day, for whatever channel. And the most important stuff is that you only have to do the process once, and they will forward the information to whatever channel you want. And apart from that, they will give you data not only about your performance, but also about the performance of competitors. So you can benchmark, and you can decide what to do. And I think that's even much more important. So, to conclude, checklist. What you should know? Well, you should know before you do whatever you want to do. To know what is your goal. What do you want to achieve? Why do you want to use coupons? Why do you do search engine optimization? Why do you create a Facebook profile? Yeah? What do you want to achieve? As soon as you know what do you want to achieve, then you know what metrics you have to collect. Then you have to have a procedure in terms of who collects the data, how frequently they send to you, and what is your probably spreadsheet that you should be using to make sense of all this data. And this is what I said before, it's called the channel management strategy that every hotelier should have, or restaurant. So, I want to finish by saying, usually you become what you measure. If you don't measure anything, you'll not achieve anything, and you just rely on chance. So, hopefully I have given enough food for thought for you to go away. Or probably I have complicated even you more. Thank you very much.